What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Early Edge. A very, very happy Monday to Harry Potter, Kylie Reynolds, Brad Morris, Matt, Liddy, Bradley. Thanks for being in here. Thanks for hitting the like button. Let's see what we did on Friday. The recap screen, of course, is from our Friday edition. Pretty good here. 4-2-1. Only loss is Red Sox first 5 plus a half, thanks to a bungled double play by the Red Sox late in that one. I'll say this, though. Chip Patterson's push, you actually won money on that. When 3 balls push, as long as it's 2 of the 3 that push, you actually get 1/3 of your winnings basically from that bet. So it is a push technically, but you won some money on that one. So a very good Friday edition. Props to Martin Green for going 2-0 there. But ladies and gentlemen, we move forward. We move to Monday, and we move to our MLB team. Let's bring on Amags. Let's bring on the sniper, Matt Snyder. Gentlemen, oh, Snyder's looking around for something. I don't know what it is. Are you looking for buckets, Sniper?
No, I'm just sad that I'm back in the lid store.
Oh,
I
right.
went to the arcade, then I broke out. Now I'm back, so it's whatever.
It was very, very scenic, that the last venue you were at. But speaking of buckets, I know soccer, Copa America, Euro 2024. Jack can correct me if I'm wrong, but that picks up tomorrow again. So we'll have buckets back and Martin Green on Wednesday. And for the record, I know a lot of you tuned in to the network show last week. Well, we've got 2 of them this week, both at 2 o'clock. One's on Tuesday, one's on Thursday. Keep that in mind, because it's basically the Early Edge on steroids, if you will, on HGH, because we got a lot of these types of picks, but we got a lot more as well. Last time we were on, we had 3 home run picks. All 3 of them hit. But we have a lot more to offer than just some of these picks in MLB and home run picks. We're going to be running the gamut in the sports world, including some futures. So 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday and Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Castrucci, Japan, Reed Phillips, thanks for being in here. I think we should get started. But, Amags, I got to ask you, because before we get to your official pick, I can feel like you might know where I'm going because of the tone of my voice. I've been on several shows with you, and you're always sporting, not always, a lot of times you're sporting the Yankees cap, which reminds people you are a diehard Yankees fan. Props to you for that. But things aren't going super well. So the state of mind of a big-time capper and fan like Amags, where are we at with the Yankee fandom? Not in terms of how much of a fan you are right now, but how are we feeling going into the second half of the season?
Feels like if you were to be, running a race and you're getting towards the finish line, maybe you're a few miles away and you're just like limping to get there. Like you are dehydrated. Everything about this team just screams that they need the All-Star break. Honestly, they really do. They have to go make some improvements as well. Hopefully pick up, a few pieces in trades, but with the All-Star break and the trade deadline, like they're just limping into those 2 time periods. 6-16 run, no better time to wear the hat and support them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you got like, I think as a Yankees fan, you must have, it's a 162 game season, first of all, but when they were running super hot, even I, as you know, I'm not as necessarily as deep into it as you are, but you anticipated some sort of slump coming along the way. I certainly did. And I say that kind of as an Orioles fan too, thinking Orioles were going to get back in the mix in terms of the AL East, but you had to anticipate some sort of slump. Is it possible that maybe this is just a bigger slump than you thought in terms of signs of things to come?
Honestly, no. Like I think it's just ebbs and flows of the season. You get off to a really hot start. Everything is looking great. And at the same time, like other teams are getting beaten up by you, right? So they're saying, well, this isn't working. This isn't working. This is working. This is, you start to find things that are working against a team. Everybody's kind of working out what their flaws are, what their strengths are. So the Yankees taking advantage of a lot of mistakes early, it seems like, really running up some good wins there. And now as teams start to adjust, now they have to adjust, right? And we see some guys also that were injured coming back into the fold, not performing as well. It's a little bit different. So, just ebbs and flows, stuff happens. I'm really not that worried about them. It is what it is.
Yeah. Decent bounce back from Hill yesterday as well, in spite of the loss there. All right, well, I want to get to your pick, and I'll lead into your pick with Brandon Silva's pick. It's a different player and it's a different team, but he likes, I noticed that he was one of the first in the chat, and I noticed it was, I think it was Abrams, over 1.5 total bases. And he also likes the over in that Nationals Cardinals game of 9, which is interesting. He's noting the weather conditions and all of that. You like a player over 2 in terms of hits, runs, RBIs, Amags. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go to somebody that helped me win my fantasy matchup this week. He's been really hot of late, and it has kind of gone under the radar, at least in my opinion, because you've got guys like Jose Miranda that had, that's been on this historic streak or whatnot, just a nice hit streak, and everybody's looking at him to play their props. But it's Byron Buxton over 1.5 hit runs and RBIs. You see Miranda's at 2.5 here. You have Carlos Correa even being hit in the hand yesterday, said he's going to play today. He's at 2.5 for his hit run RBI line, but we still have -140 here for Buxton. I honestly think it should be 2.5 as well. He's got a really great track record previously against Chris Flexen. And you guys know, I always kind of say, take these things with a grain of salt, but at the same time, he's 7 for 9. I went back, I watched some of the tape on some of those previous at-bats. It was, only a couple of years ago. He did have an at-bat against him this year where he had a hit. But when I watch some of those other at-bats, he's jumping on Chris Flexen early. And with Flexen, he's given up a bunch of home runs over his last 5. I believe it's 7 home runs over his last 5 starts. Only 26 innings or so in that span. So he really has been giving up the long ball. And Buxton, he jumps on these first pitches against Flexen. He's not really fooling anybody. When you look at Flexen's numbers, like the hard hit rate and some of the zone contact stuff, like it actually doesn't look bad. And maybe even for some of his being at 3.5 strikeouts, maybe you would think to look to the over. But when I look at some of the underlying stuff as well, he is not fooling anybody. And I think Buxton especially is not fooled by him. So at the 1.5 here on BetMGM -140, I like that price and that number.
I love it. I love the breakdown. Love that price. Love the number. I want to point out some things in the chat. Taylor DeHart giving me a shout out for Davis Thompson. We almost got there with Luke Clanton too. Remember, I gave that out on this show last Monday at 65-1. He ended up finishing T2. We had a great, the early wedge in general had a great tournament. Amags, go ahead.
Just real quick, I saw Taylor DeHart asked about Paddock over 3.5. And if you want to, I like a lot of things in this game. Honestly, I do like the Twins side. I would take Buxton 1+ hit and the Twins money line because I do kind of like backing Paddock. He had a little bit of a rest time here, some arm fatigue or whatnot, so they gave him some time off. He really should have full run, honestly, if they even want to take him just at 5 innings. I think going over the 3.5 strikeouts is not a bad look. You only see, I think it was DraftKings had it up so far, but if it opens up at some other books at a little bit of a better price even, I would play the over 3.5 there. Yeah.
All right. And we had Moshi with the pick. He liked the first 5 over in the Cards and Nats game. Maybe Sniper or Amags later in the show will get a response to that first 5 over. And he likes the Reds first 5 money line as well. But interesting one from Kylie Reynolds. Pirates NRFI, no runs first inning. It's been 7. It's hit 7 in a row and 8 in a row for Mets. No score in the first inning. I'm riding the streak. Good luck, y'all. If you tell Sniper, we got a chuckle out of you. Your thoughts there?
Look, the first inning runs thing, it's always kind of fluky to me.
Yeah.
So I don't really ever play that, but I'm looking at Christian Scott, Mitch Keller. Keller's been inconsistent. I could see the Mets jumping on him in the first inning, but it's 3 outs. So I'm fine with that play.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's get to a SportsLine pick before we get to Sniper your picks, and I'm gonna drop another long shot golf pick on everybody as well. But the SportsLine pick is Angels Rangers under 8.5 at even money. We got John Gray on the mound, Davis Daniel on the mound. This is a 9:38 Eastern Standard Time start. Again, Angels Rangers under 8.5 is the SportsLine play at even money. If you want to make this pick, or if you want to make the pick I'm about to give out, or Sniper, or Amags, or anybody in the chat, new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. In fact, the pick I'm about to give out, a long shot outright for the Scottish Open, is actually on BetMGM. The best number that I found was on BetMGM, and you're going to hear about it right after this message from our partners. Eric David says, are we getting first five Sia back today? You are due, with 3 exclamation points. No to the first part of the question. And yes, I am due for sure. I thought I had that Red Sox one on Friday. I think it was Torres who threw the ball away for the double play that would have got us there. But it's been pretty frustrating in baseball. Fortunately, I've kind of bounced back a little bit in golf over the last 2 weeks, starting to hit some stuff, including Davis Thompson plus 2,200. Well, guess what, folks? Scottish Open is coming up this week. We got the Open Championship next week. We got the early wedge tomorrow at 7 o'clock, where EC has been hot, Patrick McDonald has been hot, and I've been hot. I'm going to try to stay with the hot hand, Davis Thompson. Listen, this is plus 6,000. I'm going to have other outrights that are going to be shorter than this, perhaps a little bit more realistic. But the only reason Davis Thompson is plus 6,000 right now is because he's not the household name that guys like Rory McIlroy or Xander Schauffele are. And I totally get that. He is not the caliber player they are. But when I look at the Scottish Open, and I go back to what I looked at last year and the year before that at the Renaissance Club, I'm looking at weighted tee to green. I'm looking at good off the tee, some distance. I'm looking at hot putters. And Davis Thompson, frankly, checks all those boxes. This is a Luke Clanton situation from last week where I just think the number is wrong. I understand he won last week, and people have this perception that, well, he's going to take his foot off the gas, and this is a link-style course. It's totally different. Again, the basic metrics I'm looking at least for now, really line up very well for Davis Thompson. So at 60-1, if this was 35-1, I probably wouldn't be giving it out. But at 60-1, I think this is a consideration from an outright. And I should have said this with Luke Clanton last week when I gave him out on this show Monday morning at 65-1. You know, you can consider these in matchup bets in DFS, which I had Luke Clanton and Davis Thompson in DFS last week on the early wedge. But you can consider all of these things in the placement market as well. Any market you want to consider these in, please feel free. It's not just that I'm taking Davis Thompson outright necessarily. It's just I really like this number. And by the way, the placement market isn't even out yet in terms of most of the sports books. So also we want to consider weather and those things and tee times and all of that. But I think Davis Thompson, when I look at weighted tee to green and all of those metrics off the tee, how he's been with the putter. He gained over 7 strokes with the putter. Yes, well, yesterday he almost gained 7 strokes, it felt like. But over the tournament, he gained over 7 strokes with the putter. But that's not as fluky as you think. The 2 prior tournaments, he gained over 2 strokes with the putter. So he's been hot with the putter. He's been hot with the ball striking. He's getting himself out of trouble when he's errant off the tee with dialed-in approach play. This is a very early outright to give. I'll probably have 2 or 3 more on the early wedge and in my Sportsline article. But let's give it a start with running it back. We hit him last week at 22-1. Let's go 60-1, and admittedly a much stronger field in different conditions. Davis Thompson is your early look at an outright winner. We go back to baseball, which means we got to talk to the sniper. All right, Matt, you got 2 picks for us, and then I'm going to get into the chat, and I'm going to maybe, for both of you guys, when you're done, Sniper, if there's any questions or comments, I'm just going to rattle them off of you because we got the two of the best baseball guys right here, right now, and may as well utilize you guys. Sniper, what are your picks?
I'm going to start with Chris Sale. Over 6.5 strikeouts. There's a lot of juice on that. It was minus 155 when I looked last night. I know that the Diamondbacks actually hit lefties much better than righties, and they don't strike out a ton, but Sale is on a different level right now. He's like prime Sale. The spindly 6'6", the arm angle, the weird, awkward arm angle. In his last 11 starts, he's only been under 6.5 one time, and he's averaging about 9 strikeouts a game in that range. So I really think that, it doesn't matter the matchup. He is over 6.5, almost automatic for me. So I think he's going to get up to 8 to 9. I'm not too worried about the juice. I'm not too worried about the Diamondbacks matchup, numbers. He's going to be good over the 6.5 here. Also, Wilson Contreras, speaking of guys being hot, over 2.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. It's plus 100. He just returned from a broken arm. In his 6 games since that return, he's 8 for 25 with 2 doubles, 3 home runs, and 8 RBIs. He's swinging angry, man. Mitchell Parker on the mound for the Nationals. He is left-handed. Contreras versus lefties this year. He's hitting .306 with a .583 slugging percentage. He's in that cushy number 3 spot in the Cardinals lineup. He's had good at-bats, even when he's making outs. If you watch them, I've been watching the Cardinals recently. He even when he's making outs, he's making loud contact. He's so locked in right now. I love this play. I think he's easily going to get home to over 2.5. A home run gets us home just in 1 at-bat, and I think he's going to go yard today.
All right. Love the plays. Chris Sale over 6.5 Ks. and Wilson Contreras. I noticed that Brandon Silva was also referring to the sale 6.5 Ks. I don't know if he got that off of Sniper in Sportsline or not. But then we've got Wilson Contreras over 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs at even money. Some questions here. Amags, I'm going to start with you here. And it was Joseph Rackett. He said, Twins or the Reds run line. I think that's what he was asking. Do you like either of those? Twins -1.5, Reds -1.5. I'll start with you, Amags, with the Twins, since you had the Byron Buxton play. And then Snyder, I'm going to roll off Reds with you. So Amags, you start with Twins -1.5. Do you like that at all?
If you can get it closer to even money, I think it was around -110 or -115. I wouldn't mind taking the -110 if you can find better. Like I said, I like that a lot. Then getting towards like the -115, -120s when you're, going for the 1.5 isn't always easy. But I will say this Twins team, a reason I think I want to back them with the Buxton 1 hit and the money line, in my opinion, it takes a little bit of the risk down. I don't exactly know what I'm going to get from Chris Paddock, even though I actually personally do think he's going to pitch well, but I don't exactly know. So that makes it a little bit tough. But the 1.5, this team's been scoring. I don't trust Chris Flexen. That's kind of why I went to the Twins side there. So I would play it.
Real quick, because you mentioned Paddock, I know there was somebody in the chat that was asking about, it was Taylor, actually. Maybe we already addressed this. Paddock over 3.5 Ks. If we didn't already address that, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did mention it. I do like the over 3.5, but it was I think it was only on DraftKings, like -135 or so. As some of these other books come around when it's technically a decided starting pitcher, I guess right now technically it's undecided. It's pretty sure that it's going to be him, but once they confirm that, then the other books likely will have lines come out, and I think at that point you might see a -120 or even a -115. I would play that.
All right, Sniper, I go to you with this Reds-Rockies game. Rockies in an interesting spot, at home for a little bit. Now they're in Cincinnati, the Great America Small Park. Ryan Feltner, I mean, listen, he's been okay here and there, correct? I mean, that doesn't mean that
road numbers. Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean Andrew Abbott and company aren't going to cover the run line, but your thoughts on this game? -1.5 is at +115 or so. The money line's -180, and this is a 9.5 run total.
Yeah, the Rockies are absolutely brutal on the road. So the most likely scenario here is the Reds win by multiple runs. So yeah, I like that play. The only reason I kind of stayed away from it was Feltner's pretty good on the road, and the Reds are completely inconsistent. Like they just swept the Yankees, but then they get swept at home by the Tigers right after that. So I don't trust the Reds. Like I said, the most likely scenario is the Reds winning by multiple runs. So I'm okay with the play. The reason it wasn't an official play is because I don't trust the Reds, and Feltner's good on the road.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you all see, before we get to the recap screen, because I want to try to cover as many questions as we can, Mags or Sniper? I'll start with you, Sniper. Any questions that I didn't get to or comments that I didn't get to that you see?
I thought we covered most of them.
I think we might have. If you got, go ahead, Mags.
Well, one thing just on Sniper's play, I meant to mention this, that I did like his play on Contreras. If he didn't come with Contreras, I would have had it as my second hitter play. I just think Mitchell Parker, if you want to go back on the website, look at my previous write-up. I went under, I think it was 17.5 outs on him. The play lost, but some of the underlying metrics I mentioned in there are exactly the same. He throws the fastball way too much to righties. Contreras, I think, likely jumps on one of those 50% of the time. I mean, he's going to get one of them, and it's the expected WOBA is around like almost 400. So it's just not really conducive to long-term success. I think that's a play that I would also be on.
Well, let me ask you this. By the way, Fantasy Life says the Reds are like a box of chocolates, and it begs the question, because I think Sniper gets that reference, but Amags, do you know that reference?
If you're talking about Forrest Gump, then yes.
Okay, because you're
boy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's at least a little bit in my wheelhouse. But if you're going further than that, I wasn't going to get it.
Sniper, that a boy was the perfect response to that, given our age versus Amags. Let me ask you this, though, because this will be the final game we'll discuss. Because this Cardinals-Nationals game, by the way, that's the first or second, by the way. So I think the under is coming in on that one. Mets-Pirates starts at 12:35, everybody. So we've got day baseball, and we kind of have day baseball with Cardinals-Nationals at 4:05. Hey, Max, let me start with you, because I know Moshi brought it up in the chat. Others, I think, brought it up in the chat as well. Do you like the over in this game? I mean, Mikolas and Parker, they don't exactly inspire a lot of confidence here. We know the weather is conducive, but 9 is also a pretty big total. 9 over minus 115 in a lot of markets. Do you like that, or is it a stay away? Amags, I'm going to start with you.
Looks like the weather could help it out. So
Yeah.
you're going to get that. You're going to get an extreme, or at least more extreme than not, hitters umpire. So that, I was actually almost looking at Michaelis over 3.5 strikeouts because I saw that the curveball sweepers were really something that was hurting this lineup. So as I was looking at that, I was thinking maybe, the big Michaelis curveball dropping into the zone, but I just don't love it if the umpire's not there. And I think that with the weather could help it get over. I don't love the Mets game, though, honestly. The early game wraparound, I think I'm off it.
Yeah, fair enough. Sniper, any comments about the Mets game or the over in Nats Reds?
Over in Nats Reds, I like that one. I don't like either pitcher in this matchup. I like the offenses much more. And I know that it sounds high when we get up in the 9.5 range, but just to break it down, like 6-4 is 10. A 6-4 score isn't actually that huge of a bridge to cross. That's fine. That's perfectly workable and reasonable.
Yeah. When I look at this Cardinals-Nationals game, instead of taking an over, I almost want to defer to team totals because I don't know which of these bats are going to come. I do expect the Cardinals to show up a little bit, but I also love fading Mikolas, so I almost feel like going that route, maybe laddering some totals. Speaking of laddering, I know somebody, before we bring up the recap screen, somebody said that they laddered Davis Thompson last week in terms of taking him outright, but also taking him in the top 20, top 30 market. That's a really good strategy as well that we started to talk about a lot on the early wedge. So before I bring up the recap screen, just a reminder to everybody, the early wedge every single Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We've started to catch some fire here. We're not hitting every single bet. I'm not going to pretend we are, but in the outright department, we are hitting a lot of these. We're doing pretty good in the finishing position markets as well. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock, it's the Genesis Scottish Open. And again, the Open Championship. We got a couple of small time tournaments after that. And then we get into the FedEx Cup playoffs, which is 3 tournaments that are going to be very, very exciting. So make sure you're dialed in, especially now, because we're starting to catch a little bit of fire here to the Scottish Open tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get out of here. I've got a long shot outright. I did this last Monday as well, deferring to Sniper and Amags when it comes to Monday's baseball slate. I've got Davis Thompson as a long shot outright at plus 6,000. A lot more shorter outrights I'll have on my card on the early wedge tomorrow. Amags, Byron Buxton over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs at minus 140. Sniper, Chris Sale over 6.5 Ks at minus 155. Wilson Contreras over 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs at even money. Sportsline pick, Angels, Rangers under 8.5 at even money. Those aren't the only picks, right? We had a ton of picks in the chat. We discussed them all. Bradley, appreciate you dropping the soccer knowledge in there. Moshi, Taylor, absolutely loving everything that's going on in the chat. Forgive me for leaving out some of the names. Thank you again, always, for hitting the like button. Tomorrow when you get in here, please hit the like button right away. Right at 10 o'clock, get in here, hit the like button. We'd really appreciate it. On behalf of Jake the Snake, on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, Amags, Sniper, some day baseball, a nice little baseball slate, everybody. Have a great Monday. Let's stay positive. Let's cash some tickets, and we'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget about the network show tomorrow as well. And, of course, the early wedge. I'm the counselor of cash. This is the early edge. We rest our case.